The passage of time within the corridors of historical institutions often carries a profound sense of continuity, a silent echoing of footsteps that shapes the destinies of those born into the relentless glare of the public eye. Across generations, the weight of tradition and the expectations of a nation converge upon the youth of a singular family, marking their transitions from childhood into the demanding realm of adolescence with a unique blend of solemnity and anticipation. In the heart of Berkshire, where the ancient stones of Windsor Castle cast long, protective shadows over the surrounding landscape, an ancient seat of learning stands ready to welcome a new chapter in an ongoing legacy. This sanctuary of education, renowned for its rigorous standards and distinctive traditions, has long served as a crucible for the minds that will eventually guide the path of history, offering a structured environment where the complexities of the modern world are temporarily held at bay by the enduring rhythms of academic life. To understand the significance of the moment that approaches, one must look back to the closing decade of the 20th century, an era marked by deep societal shifts and profound personal transformations for the inhabitants of the royal household, a time when a young prince faced the daunting task of beginning his higher education amidst a storm of unprecedented public scrutiny and intense emotional vulnerability. The atmosphere surrounding the grand, historic red brick architecture of this legendary establishment has always been charged with a distinct gravitas, an awareness that within these walls, personal character is forged under the steady guidance of seasoned mentors and the companionship of peers. For a youth destined to inherit the ultimate responsibility of leadership, the transition into this world represents far more than a mere change of academic scenery. It is a critical step toward independence, a period where the foundational values of duty, resilience, and personal integrity are tested and refined. In the current era, as preparations unfold for another young heir to cross this historic threshold, the reflections of those who witnessed the past become an invaluable lens through which to view the present, offering a deeper appreciation for the vastly different emotional landscapes that separate two distinct generations of the same family. If you find value in these detailed explorations of history, continuity, and the silent forces that shape the lives of those who carry the mantle of tradition, consider joining our community by subscribing to stay fully informed as this narrative continues to unfold across the generations. The contrast between the upcoming transition and the one that occurred more than 3 decades ago lies not in the physical surroundings, which remain largely unchanged, but in the profoundly different domestic environments from which each young man emerged, highlighting the ultimate impact of stability, parental devotion, and protective boundaries upon the developing confidence of a future leader. When the current Prince of Wales first approached these formidable gates in the mid-90s, the world looked on with a mixture of intense curiosity and deep apprehension, well aware of the turbulent currents that had defined his formative years within a household fractured by highly publicized domestic strife. The image of that 14-year-old boy standing resolutely before the cameras alongside parents who were already deeply estranged and standing on the absolute precipice of a definitive legal separation remains etched into the collective memory of an entire generation as a poignant symbol of innocence navigating a complex emotional minefield. The heavy burden of a highly public family dissolution, coupled with the relentless intrusion of global media attention, meant that his entry into secondary education was not merely an academic milestone, but a high-stakes transition executed under the most challenging psychological circumstances imaginable. Yet within that structured environment, amidst the traditional attire of tailcoats and stiff collars, the young prince discovered something unexpected. A genuine sanctuary from the chaotic storm that raged beyond the school gates, a space where he could simply be a student, focused on history, sports, and the slow, steady process of self-discovery, away from the constant demands of his public identity. This sanctuary was not merely a product of the physical walls or the ancient rules of the institution, but was actively cultivated by key individuals who recognized the profound vulnerability of the young man placed in their care, offering a steadying hand during the darkest periods of his youth. Among these mentors, a quiet and deeply intellectual historian from Ulster would come to play an extraordinarily pivotal role, transforming from a traditional housemaster into an indispensable emotional anchor for a prince who, just 2 years into his academic tenure, would be forced to carry the unimaginable weight of sudden, tragic maternal loss. The profound bond formed during those difficult years between the grieving student and his dedicated educator highlights the profound capacity of educational institutions to serve as spaces of deep emotional healing and personal stabilization, ensuring that despite the immense tragedy that threatened to derail his future, the young heir was able to flourish, develop lasting friendships, and ultimately emerge as a resilient leader, ready to face his eventual destiny. As the wheel of time turns toward the late summer of the present day, the focus shifts entirely to a new generation, specifically to a young prince who stands on the very cusp of his 13th birthday, preparing to follow precisely in the academic footsteps of his father, but under circumstances that could not possibly be more different. The contemporary landscape surrounding this upcoming enrollment is defined by an overwhelming sense of domestic tranquility, a secure and fiercely guarded family foundation constructed deliberately by 2 devoted parents who have prioritized the emotional well-being and grounded upbringing of their children above all else. This young heir does not carry the invisible scars of a marital war into his new school. Instead, he steps forward from a settled, cohesive home environment where confidence has not been forced through rigid instruction, but naturally absorbed through years of consistent affection, stability, and protective boundaries. The upcoming academic journey is therefore viewed not as an escape from a turbulent reality, but as a natural, exciting progression toward maturity, supported by a family structure that has prepared him to face the inherent challenges of elite schooling with a steady heart and an inherently resilient spirit. The preparatory steps taken over the recent years reveal a deliberate and deeply thoughtful approach to this transition, ensuring that the young prince was given every opportunity to acclimate to the structures of communal academic life before facing the grand stage of his new environment. By experiencing occasional boarding at his co-educational preparatory school near Ascot, an arrangement he actively requested to foster his own personal growth and sense of belonging within a collective, the youth has already developed a degree of independence that will serve him immensely well in the months ahead. This early taste of community living, combined with a natural aptitude for history and a passionate love for traditional team sports, has allowed him to develop a balanced personality that bridges the gap between his royal inheritance and the everyday experiences of an active, intelligent teenager. His father's light-hearted observation that the young boy's historical knowledge already surpasses his own serves as a touching testament to an intellectual curiosity that will undoubtedly find a fertile, welcoming ground within the advanced curriculum of his upcoming secondary school. Furthermore, the physical proximity of this prestigious institution to the family's permanent residence on the Berkshire estate adds a crucial layer of comfort and continuity to the entire endeavour, ensuring that the young prince remains firmly within the geographic and emotional orbit of his supportive home. The ability to look out toward the familiar, towering silhouette of Windsor Castle provides a constant visual reminder of his heritage and his family's nearby presence, offering a unique sense of security that will undoubtedly ease the pressures of adjusting to a highly demanding academic routine. While the environment will demand much from him in terms of discipline, intellectual engagement, and adherence to ancient protocols, it is also an environment uniquely equipped to protect and nurture his individuality, much like it did for his father decades before him, setting the stage for a journey where time, patience, and a stable foundation will allow the future king to truly come into his own. The deliberate structuring of a young prince's upbringing by his parents represents a significant evolution in how the modern monarchy prepares its future rulers for the immense burdens of statecraft and public duty. In the past, the traditional royal approach to education often favored a stark, rigid separation from the family home, a method designed to instill an uncompromising sense of discipline through physical distance and emotional stoicism. This older paradigm was vividly illustrated by the experiences of previous generations who were sent away to remote, Spartan institutions where the harsh climate and demanding physical regimens were intended to build character, but often resulted in profound feelings of isolation and intense personal unhappiness. By contrast, the strategic decision to select an institution situated just a short distance from the family's primary residence at Windsor demonstrates a completely redefined philosophy, one that acknowledges that true resilience is best nurtured within a framework of emotional security, consistent parental accessibility, and a stable domestic foundation. This geographical proximity allows for a harmonious blend of rigorous academic independence and the vital reassurance of nearby familial support, ensuring that the young heir can fully immerse himself in the challenging traditions of his new school while remaining deeply anchored to the protective environment his parents have so fiercely guarded. The choice of this specific educational path was not made hastily, nor was it treated as a mere foregone conclusion dictated solely by historical precedent, despite the deep connection his father maintained with the institution. In the preceding years, the Prince and Princess of Wales embarked on a highly thorough, deliberate exploration of various elite educational establishments across the United Kingdom, quietly visiting a diverse range of schools to ensure they were choosing an environment perfectly tailored to their eldest son's unique personality, strengths, and emotional needs. These visits, which generated significant interest and quiet speculation among observers, demonstrated a modern, highly attentive approach to parenting that prioritizes the individual child over rigid adherence to institutional expectations. It was only after their son successfully navigated the demanding hurdle of his common entrance examinations at the age of 12 that the family's decision was definitively finalized, confirming that the historic boarding school on the Thames remained their absolute primary choice for his secondary education. This thorough process ensured that when the young prince finally crosses the threshold to begin his studies, he does so with the complete confidence that this environment is uniquely equipped to foster both his academic potential and his personal well-dash. Being the transition to this advanced level of schooling marks the conclusion of an exceptionally happy and formative chapter at his co-educational preparatory school in Berkshire, where he and his younger siblings have spent years developing within a highly nurturing, supportive environment. While his younger sister and brother will remain at the preparatory school to continue their own steady growth, the eldest son's departure represents a natural step forward into a world characterized by greater responsibility, deeper academic focus, and the unique traditions of an all-male boarding environment. The subtle preparation for this major shift has been ongoing for some time, particularly through his participation in the school's flexible boarding program, which allowed him to experience the realities of communal living, peer accountability, and independent time management in a familiar, low-stakes setting. This gradual acclimatization reflects a brilliant understanding of child development, avoiding the sudden, jarring displacement that characterized the educational drop-offs of past generations, and instead transforming the move into an anticipated adventure for an eager, well-prepared young mind. To fully appreciate why this choice represents such a positive and necessary evolution for the contemporary family, one must examine the profound historical contrast presented by the educational journeys of his grandfather and great-grandfather, whose experiences in the mid-20th century could not have been more radically different.
For decades, the established norm for the male heirs of the royal household involved enrolment at a notoriously demanding academy in the remote Highlands of Scotland, an institution founded on principles of intense physical endurance, minimal comfort, and a deliberate exposure to the elements. While the late Duke of Edinburgh thrived within that rugged, outdoor-centric environment, finding in its strict discipline a constructive outlet for his natural resilience and independence, the experience proved to be entirely unsuited to the sensitive, artistic temperament of the future King Charles. The young prince was subjected to a highly challenging social dynamic, facing relentless scrutiny and a deep lack of understanding from his peers within an environment that he would later famously look back upon with a sense of profound emotional alienation. This historical divergence highlighted a critical lesson that the modern family has clearly taken to heart: that an educational institution cannot simply be a one-size-fits-all crucible, but must align harmoniously with the specific emotional makeup of the child who inhabits it. When the Princess of Wales, Diana, advocated strongly for her sons to break away from this remote Scottish tradition in the 90s, her primary motivation was a desire for geographic closeness and an environment that offered a greater degree of emotional accessibility and modern intellectual engagement. Her insistence on placing her eldest son in a school situated right across the river from Windsor Castle was a visionary move that fundamentally altered the trajectory of royal education, ensuring that her children would not be cut off from the vital support networks of their family during their most vulnerable teenage years. This decision proved to be an overwhelming success for the young Prince William, who discovered within the structured, highly stimulating environment of the school a genuine space to flourish, away from the complex and stressful dynamics of his parents' highly public marital difficulties. The school did not merely provide an exceptional education, it functioned as a vital emotional buffer, offering a predictable, orderly world where his status as a student took precedence over his identity as a symbol of a fracturing dynasty. Within this historic setting, the current Prince of Wales achieved significant personal and academic milestones, demonstrating a remarkable capacity to integrate into the intense traditions of the school while building a distinct, independent identity that would serve him well into adulthood. His progression through the academic ranks culminated in his selection as a perfect, an honor that admitted him into the school's highly prestigious elite student society, recognizable by the distinctive privilege of wearing intricately patterned waistcoats alongside the mandatory historical uniform. This achievement was far more than a simple social distinction. It represented the genuine respect and admiration he had earned from both the faculty and his fellow students, reflecting his ability to lead with humility, navigate complex peer relationships, and maintain his focus amidst an overarching atmosphere of global media fascination. Furthermore, the extensive sports programs offered by the institution allowed him to channel his energy constructively, fostering a lifelong passion for team athletics and helping him forge an enduring circle of fiercely loyal, protective friendships that remain completely unbroken to this very day. One of the most uniquely beautiful aspects of that period in the current Prince of Wales's youth was the extraordinary opportunity it afforded for regular, informal contact with his grandmother, the late Queen, who was residing nearby at her historic fortress. These regular walks across the bridge to share private lunches and quiet afternoons with the monarch provided the young prince with an invaluable, highly personalized education in the subtle arts of constitutional duty, historical continuity, and personal leadership, completely free from the pressures of official court life. Within the quiet comfort of her private sitting rooms, the elderly sovereign and her teenage heir established a profound bond based on shared destiny and deep mutual understanding, a connection that was entirely enabled by the deliberate geographic positioning of his school. As the next young heir prepares to embark on this identical academic journey, the memory of these historical patterns serves as a powerful reminder of how the physical spaces of education can actively facilitate the passing of wisdom, values, and stability across generations,
ensuring that the future King George is positioned to absorb the rich tapestry of his heritage while developing his own unique path forward in a rapidly changing world. The unfolding narrative of this generational transition finds its core meaning not merely in the continuation of an elite academic tradition, but in the profound evolution of character and preparation that defines the young man at its center. Prince George approaches this new chapter as an individual of distinct talents, quiet intellect, and a balanced perspective that reflects the careful guidance of his upbringing. Those who observe the young prince closely describe a youth who possesses a deep-seated curiosity about the past, a trait that directly connects him to the historical legacy he is destined to inherit. His extraordinary passion for history is not merely a passing interest, but a defined academic strength that has already surpassed the historical knowledge of his father at a similar age. This intellectual engagement was vividly demonstrated during a family visit to view historic treasures, where the young prince's nuanced understanding of historical artifacts, including the intricate armour of Henry VIII, prompted a light-hearted and proud admission from the Prince of Wales that his eldest son had become the definitive family expert on historical dates and lineages. This natural affinity for the stories of those who came before him suggests that his time within an institution renowned for its historical scholarship will be a period of profound intellectual fulfillment, allowing him to ground his future constitutional responsibilities in a comprehensive understanding of human history. Complementing this sharp academic focus is an active, enthusiastic participation in the vibrant sporting life that forms a cornerstone of his daily routine. The young prince has developed a deep love for team sports, dividing his athletic energies between football and hockey, activities that connect him to the separate heritages of both his mother and his father. His dedication to hockey serves as a touching nod to the Princess of Wales, who was a passionate and highly skilled player of the game during her own school years, while his enthusiastic support for football aligns perfectly with his father's long-standing allegiance to Aston Villa. This shared sporting bond with the Prince of Wales has regularly brought the duo into the public eye, where they can be seen cheering enthusiastically from the stands, demonstrating a healthy, unscripted camaraderie that stands in stark contrast to the rigid, emotionally distant public appearances of previous royal generations. These athletic pursuits provide the young heir with an essential outlet for stress, a means of building deep peer relationships based on mutual effort, and a platform to absorb the vital lessons of teamwork, resilience, and fair play that are essential for anyone destined to navigate a lifetime of high-stakes public service. Yet, the true measure of the young prince's readiness for the challenges of his upcoming enrollment lies in an internal strength that has been forged through quiet observation and a mature response to recent family adversity. Despite the fierce protection offered by his domestic environment, the young heir has not been entirely spared the profound anxieties and pains that are an inescapable part of the human experience. In recent times, he has stood as a quiet witness to the immense vulnerability of his family, watching both his devoted mother and his grandfather navigate complex, high-profile battles with serious illness. Witnessing those he loves most confront the frightening realities of cancer with dignity, openness, and an unwavering commitment to duty has undoubtedly left an indelible impression on his developing character. Far from shaking his foundational security, these profound challenges have seen the young prince emerge as a steadier, more empathetic individual, possessing a depth of perspective that is exceptionally rare in a child of his age. This quiet resilience, absorbed through the lived example of his parents' courage, ensures that he enters an inherently demanding senior school environment with a mature heart, capable of maintaining his equilibrium regardless of the external pressures that may swirl around his public identity. The institution itself has underwent a parallel evolution over the decades, transforming from a traditional bastion of social privilege into a highly progressive, forward-thinking centre of academic excellence that commands an annual tuition of £63,000. Today, it describes itself as a modern establishment that actively embraces innovation, technological advancement, and new educational opportunities, seeking to provide a well-rounded and progressive curriculum that prepares its students for the complexities of a globalized society. While it rigorously maintains its iconic visual traditions, including the mandatory daily attire of black tailcoats, false collars, and stiff white shirts, the internal culture focuses heavily on psychological well-being, creative critical thinking, and the cultivation of a diverse community of high achievers. This unique combination of ancient external discipline and modern internal support makes it an ideal crucible for a future monarch, offering an environment that is uniquely equipped to protect his privacy, challenge his intellect, and nurture his individual talents without isolating him from the realities of the contemporary world. The strategic vision of the Prince and Princess of Wales in establishing their permanent, long-term residence at Adelaide Cottage within the secure perimeter of the Berkshire estate represents the final, vital piece of this protective framework. This deliberate geographic decision ensures that the young prince's transition into boarding life does not require a painful emotional detachment from the daily rhythms of his family. The short distance between his new dormitory and his family home allows for an unprecedented degree of continuity, meaning that the young heir will remain firmly within the protective and loving orbit of his parents and younger siblings. While his sister and younger brother continue their happy development at their local preparatory school, the family unit remains entirely cohesive, providing a permanent sanctuary to which the eldest son can easily return. This proximity creates a uniquely reassuring dynamic, where the young prince, as he steps out across the historic campus in his formal uniform under the towering shadow of Windsor Castle, can draw strength from the knowledge that his ultimate support system is mere minutes away. Ultimately, this upcoming milestone stands as a powerful testament to a completely redefined philosophy of royal parenting, one that balances the absolute necessity of preparing an individual for an extraordinary public destiny with an unyielding commitment to their emotional health